Welcome back to the Fans of the Home Team podcast.
I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Miranda. This is a podcast that talks about the fun, the drama, and the effects that sports, teams, and athletes bring to the world, whether good or bad.
This is a podcast for people who care about sports in a deeper way than who won or who lost. It's for the people who love the feel-good stories behind the teams and athletes and realize that sports are more than a game. It's March Madness. Hopefully your bracket hasn't been busted just yet, but probably is. In honor of the tournament, Miranda and I decided that we'd do a bracket of our own, but it's not about basketball and it's not even about sports at all.
Kelsey and I can talk for hours about sitcoms, so we decided to do a bracket to determine what the best sitcom is. We both have no idea what the other chose for any of the matchups or the winner, so these will be our honest and true reactions.
I have a ton of hot takes. I know Miranda's going to get pissed off at me today.
As per usual, you have a ton of hot takes. What else is new?
One of my favorite memories actually is we were in the UK on the class trip for grad school. Remember, we were going to that weird school or whatever to do their project for them. But yes. We're in the top deck of this bus at like 7 a.m. And I don't know how we got on the topic, but we're screaming at each other whether Rachel from Friends should be with Joey or should be with Ross. And the correct answer is Joey.
I feel like that's the only fight we've ever gotten into was just about Joey and Ross. And I think we're just so passionate about Friends that I'm not surprised that that's what we were arguing about. As I've gotten older, which I mean, that was only like a few years ago, and I watch Friends a lot. I've started to realize that Ross may not have been the best pick for Rachel, but I also don't think she should have ended up with Joey. I think she should have just gone to Milan and like done her own thing, but that's just me. Be an independent woman. We'll talk about that later. We've broken up the 4 regions into cartoons, shows we watch with our parents, nostalgia, and modern shows. This is going to be a 2-part episode, and we'll cover cartoons and the shows we watch with our parents this week. And then next week will be nostalgia, modern shows, and then the exciting part of the Final Four, and we'll each announce our winner as well.
Keep in mind, we've got 32 sitcoms on here, 8 for each region. Not every show can make it, so we had to choose shows that we've both seen before so that we could make honest judgments. That is why Ted Lasso is not on here. This made me very sad, but Miranda's depriving herself of this masterpiece. So
I know. I've heard about it multiple times, but I don't have Apple TV and I refuse to pay for it because I'm paying for like a million other streaming services. But I will eventually watch Ted Lasso. But yes, I do want to preface this. Like I was telling Kelsey before the episode, gave this bracket to my brother and sister. And they're like, you're missing this show. You're missing this show. You're missing this show. And I was like, yes, I know, but we can't. First of all, have the episode be like a million hours long. And second of all, to be fair, we wanted it to be shows we've at least watched a good amount. There is a few honorable mentions that are missing, including, like Kelsey said, Ted Lasso. But if you guys want to see a full bracket or a blank bracket, we've posted one on all of our social media channels. So feel free to follow along at Fans of the Home Team. Fill it out for yourself, and we'd love to see your opinions too and just your reactions to what we're about to get into.
Let's start with the cartoon region. So the 8 shows that we picked were Archer, King of the Hill, Phineas and Ferb, The Simpsons, Big Mouth, Bob's Burgers, Family Guy, and South Park. So the first matchup at the top of the bracket was Archer versus King of the Hill.
So I know, like, when we were talking about this, I brought up like, oh, King of the Hill. I was like, I hate that show, but I picked King of the Hill. I tried to watch Archer and I can't. I just really cannot get into it, which is like unfortunate. And my sister pointed this out because the same voice character who plays Archer plays Bob in Bob's Burgers. But it's just, I can't do it, Kelsey. I really can't. So I picked King of the Hill because it's more of a nostalgia factor. I don't even like that show, but my dad used to watch it all the time because we would watch like the lineup, the cartoon lineup, and it came on, I think, after The Simpsons. So I picked King of the Hill.
This is our second fight. I really can't believe how bad of a pick this is.
Hot here.
Archer's one of the funniest shows I think I've ever seen in my life.
I can't, Kelsey. I don't get it. Like, I just don't get it.
It's in English. What do you mean you don't get it?
I just don't. I know. I can't do it. I can't. And I literally tried to watch that. How many? Because that show's been on for a long time now, right?
Yeah, forever.
I've tried to watch it probably like 3 separate times. I can't get into it.
That's crazy. I feel like my humor is a lot like Archer. I obviously picked Archer because I'm mad.
Yeah,
so.
I was gonna say, I wonder what you picked.
Different wavelengths on this fine day. Okay, well, that's a rough start. The next matchup we had was Phineas and Ferb and The Simpsons. I feel like this is going to be controversial. I picked Phineas and Ferb.
Same.
I remember watching this. This is actually funny. My parents would watch a lot of the shows with us because we were kids and we made them and we took the TV. Phineas and Ferb was like my dad's favorite kids show. He always asked to watch it.
Really? That's so cute.
So adorable. Hi, Dad. I really don't know why. Like, I don't know how much I love it, but I really just never got into The Simpsons that much either. So this was my pick.
So this was a hard one for me because when I was a kid, I don't know. I was obsessed with The Simpsons. There's like a home video of me. I don't even know. I had to be like maybe 3. And my dad's like, okay, Miranda, like time to go to bed. And I'm like, Simpsons. Like I wanted to watch The Simpsons. And my dad's like, no, it's bedtime. So I guess I was obsessed with it as like a kid, not obsessed, but like, I think it was just like a cartoon. And obviously as a kid, you're just like drawn to those more. So there is like a nostalgia factor with The Simpsons. And again, it was another show that I watched like with my parents growing up because like I said, it came on before King of the Hill. Phineas and Ferb, that show was so good. I think that was honestly the last like good show on Disney Channel. The concept was so cool. And we were definitely, I feel like a little older because I think my sister is the one who started watching it first. And then like we all kind of jumped on it. But the concept is so good. All the characters, it was just so cute. So I had to pick Phineas and Ferb here, even though, again, I showed my sister this bracket and she's like, Phineas and Ferb, that's not a sitcom. And I was like, yes, it is. I looked it up and it's categories under sitcom. It might be a children's sitcom, but it's still a sitcom.
I feel like your brother and sister were really hating on our bracket.
They were. They had to. You want to talk about hot takes? They had some hot takes.
Like what? Let's hear a hot take from The Sims.
No, just like that we were missing out like some shows. My sister was like, Phineas and Ferb, that's not a sitcom. And I was like, yes, it is.
Come on.
And they were saying that like some of the shows we picked, like I think some of them like the categories or something, but I was like, we had to make sure there were 8 in each one. So you do what you got to do.
We're just trying to do simple math here.
And there's so many sitcoms too. Like at first we were like, we're not even going to be able to do 32. And then when we started like looking, I was like, oh my God, there's so many.
I know. I was found pages like top 100 sitcoms. I was like, 100.
I know. But anyways, Phineas and Ferb sitcom, and moving on.
The next matchup was Big Mouth versus Bob's Burgers. What did you choose?
So this was really hard for me, honestly, because I love them both, but I went with Bob's Burgers.
I agree. This was the hardest matchup of this region, but I also went with Bob's Burgers.
Yay!
I love Big Mouth though. I really do. I felt bad.
Yeah, and I think the concept of it again is just so interesting, like kids going through puberty, and Nick Kroll is so talented, and the fact that he voices basically the entire show is absolute insanity. If you haven't seen like the interviews with Jimmy Fallon where he's like just goes through the characters and having like a full-blown conversation, I was like, how is this possible? And they are doing a spin-off of Big Mouth 2 on Netflix. Where it's hormone monsters. I think it's called like Human Resources or something. and it's showcasing more like their office culture, like the side we don't really see.
I wonder if it'll be more or less toxic than a classic 9 to 5 in America.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like their job is fun to an extent, because some of the shit they get into on Big Mouth, I'm like, oh my God, this is so cringe. I love the first season, and then I think it was the most recent season that I was like a little meh on. So that's why I went with Bob's Burgers, because that show hits every single episode.
I think that Louise is one of my favorite TV characters.
The kids are so like every single character on that show is so good, and like the family unit, obviously, who are the main characters, are the best, but even like all of the accessory characters, and it's so well written. And I also feel like it's a show, because I started watching that show because my sister is obsessed with Bob's Burgers, and I would just like jump in every now and then with her, and then that's when I started watching. And I feel like it's a show which is nice that you can just like jump in and kind of pick up and know what's going on. And it's a great episode every single time.
I agree with that. You don't have to watch it from start to finish. You can, but even if you're just jumping in season 5, like you're good to go. Like no big deal. It's very hard to describe Bob's Burgers and why it's so good. It just is. So if you haven't seen it, please go see it.
I will say though, my sister, when she first started watching the show, said like that she was Louise, and then my brother was Jean, and I was Tina. Are you kidding me? Like, no, you're only Tina because Tina like can be monotone at times, or most of the time. And she's like, you can be monotone at times. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's true. So if I'm ever monotone, just know like it's just my inner Tina coming out, I guess.
Do you also write erotic fan fiction at school?
And I never did, but I did have like a Tumblr, which I guess that's like kind of similar.
That's so edgy.
So edgy, you know, like that was just my life in middle school was Tumblr. But yeah, 10-10 show.
10-10 for sure. Last matchup in the cartoon region is Family Guy versus South Park. This was really hard for me because they are like similar styles. But I did go with South Park because I feel like they just hit current events so well. And I just love it. It's funny.
So this was hard for me in the opposite way because I hate both of these shows. And my siblings had a good point that we should have put American Dad, because I actually like American Dad. And I think it's better than both of these. It's the only one of those types of shows that I like, but I literally hate both of these shows. I remember like as a kid when, and maybe this is why I hate South Park, but as a kid, when one of my aunts was babysitting us, she would put on like South Park when we went to bed, but like we were sleeping, like we would sleep on the floor in like sleeping bags in the living room because we were scared to, you know, kid stuff. And I would be like asleep, but not asleep. And these like creepy ass cartoons are on the television screen. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And I don't like the voices on South Park. And I don't like it at all. And Family Guy, I think, is just stupid. But I went with Family Guy because that one's a little less traumatizing than South Park.
I didn't realize we were going to be traumatizing you for this show.
And I've also learned that like, this might be a little like stereotypical, but any guy who watches Family Guy or South Park, you're not the guy for me. That's all I will say. That's
such a specific rule.
It's not though, Kelsey. You would be surprised. And shout out to Derek because he doesn't and never has watched either of those shows.
Well, shout out to Derek, I guess, for missing out on these shows.
No, not at all.
Let's move to the Sweet 16 matchups. My top one was Archer versus Phineas and Ferb, whereas yours was King of the Hill versus Phineas and Ferb, which is a ridiculous matchup to have on this bracket. But
I don't think so. But also, please listen, Archer versus Phineas and Ferb.
Both matchups are pretty opposite. I moved Archer on because it's better than Phineas and Ferb. Obviously, it's more of my sense of humor.
Well, I think we all know what I picked because I don't even like King of the Hill, so I picked Phineas and Ferb.
Well, I'm glad the show you didn't like didn't make the Elite Eight, But
yeah, exactly. But that first Archerverse King of the Hill was rough. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do. So, yeah, Phineas and Ferb moved on. Shockingly, made it to the Sweet 16.
well, you put them in the Elite Eight now. We've got.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're in the Elite Eight. So, damn. Get it, Phineas and Ferb.
Shout out to Ashley Tisdale and whoever the other voice actors are on the show. But
I'm honestly, what if Ashley Tisdale listens to this and she hears that you didn't move her show on?
I would be so embarrassed, and I'll retract it if she calls me out. So we'll see. Maybe I'll tag her on TikTok and see if she replies. Archer to the Elite Eight for me, Phineas and Ferb for you. The second Sweet 16 matchup for this region for me was Bob's Burgers versus South Park. Bob's Burgers versus Family Guy for you. We probably both did the same thing. I moved Bob's Burgers on.
Oh, 100%. You had to. Bob's Burgers, I mean, no brainer.
No brainer. So I feel like I know what one you brought to the Final Four. I had an elite matchup of Archer versus Bob's Burgers. This was really hard. You're going to hate me. But
Kelsey,
but I brought Archer.
Oh my God. No.
I'm one of those people that likes to relate to characters. And when you think about it, I just relate to Archer more than I relate to any of the characters on Bob's Burgers. Yes.
I feel like he's like, isn't he like what is his character? Like a spy or some shit?
Yeah. That's basically my career, right?
I didn't know you were a secret international super spy.
Yes, I am coming out with that fact right now on the podcast that I'm a super spy.
I can't deal with that show. And obviously I picked Bob's Burgers because that was the elite show out of this entire region.
Well, we got close. It was close. Like I almost did it, but I didn't.
This region was easy for me because I literally had to pick two shows I already hated to move on. Right now we have Archer in yours, Bob's Burgers in mine.
So pretty close. Like not bad. It's not like King of the Hill made it to the Final Four.
Yeah, no. We
did debate what our final show in this region should be and finally landed on King of the Hill because we had both seen it. So It was a late edition.
I forgot, what were some of the other shows that we were saying?
I don't even know. The cartoon one was hard. We just had to find a cartoon.
I know that one of the ones I suggested was Futurama, but you haven't seen it. But that show is pretty good. And then my sister, I've never seen it, but my sister always used to talk about BoJack Horseman. And then there's also like F is for Family. There's like a few different like new cartoon ones, but haven't watched them. So
yeah, you sent me like 10. I was like, I literally don't know what any of these are.
Oh, and Rick and Morty, which that show I feel like has a cult following, and I'm probably gonna offend their followers, but I try to watch that show again like 3 times and I can't do it.
I won't try it because of the cult following. I told you this, like you're like, do you do Wordle? I'm like, as a cult following, so I don't do it.
Oh my God.
That's just kind of how I am.
Kelsey is such a hipster, if you guys didn't know.
People meet me and they're like hipster. Like that's the one word people use to describe me, obviously.
That was my first impression.
Let's move on to our shows we watched with parents region. So the 8 shows we had in here were Friends, Everybody Loves Raymond, MASH, 30 Rock, King of Queens, Big Bang Theory, Home Improvement, and Seinfeld. I thought this region was easy as well. Like I knew when I saw it what was coming out of here.
I also knew what was going to be Final Four. There was one matchup that I was like, oh, I don't know which one to choose. But yeah, this one was pretty easy.
The first matchup was Friends versus Everybody Loves Raymond. What did you pick?
I mean, shockingly picked Friends, which I'm assuming that's also what you picked.
Yes. I remember the discussion we had about how Everybody Loves Raymond is the worst sitcom of all time, which it is. It's terrible.
Literally the most boring show I've ever watched in my entire life. And again, like we said, this is a parents region. So my parents used to put this show on because it was in the lineup. Me, my brother, my sister, we would always complain, like, please change this. Like, this is so boring. I couldn't do it. It was the same storyline every single time. Ray and his wife were fighting, and then his mom, aka the grandma, would come next door, and then the grandma and the wife would be fighting, and then she'd be like, Ray, you need to defend me. And then you had Robert, who was just like the dumb older brother. Like, it made no sense. And you had the kids like running around. The best character on the show was Ray's dad and the grandpa. That's the only good part about the show. The rest of it, absolute trash.
I agree. This show is so weird because like I never remember that they have kids. It's like an integral part of the show, but it's like those kids are so in the background. It's very weird.
100%. And they have like the twin boys and then the older daughter.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I feel like we lived the same childhood. This show is terrible. It was the worst show.
I would be so mad. Like, we would throw a fit when it would come on. I was like, no.
I remember when I was talking about this with Janelle, and she was like, oh, I love Everybody Loves Raymond. And I was like, can you please leave my site? I cannot speak to you any longer.
Janelle, no.
This would have lost to like King of the Hill. It's just that bad.
Honestly, if like we had to rank like all of these 1 through 32, I think I would put Everybody Loves Raymond like 32.
I agree. It's not even close. That's how I would start the bracket. I would start the ranking at 32 with them.
Yeah, I would put my first and my last and be like, yeah, this is it. And I think also this show was like squished between like King of Queens, and there's also, I don't know if you guys watched Yes Dear. That was another like family sitcom, and I forget what else. But I also just think like the shows surrounding it were so much better than Everybody Loves Raymond. Like, it is just so boring.
I don't know how it stayed on the air, honestly.
No.
It's bad.
It also was like my first, I remember as a kid, like Ray was a sports writer, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. But too bad the show sucked. So yeah, this was a probably the easiest matchup in the bracket, because like we talked about in the intro, Friends, Kelsey and I both love that show.
It is an elite show, and it's hard to beat. I feel like there's a cult following for people our age,
and we are part of the cult following.
Yes, this is the one cult following I'm probably a part of. It's fine, but
yeah, you're not a hipster when it comes to Friends.
Which Friends character do you most relate to?
I don't know who I most relate to. I'll tell you my least favorite Friends character.
If it's not Ross, just don't say it.
It's 100% Ross. I will say Ross has like some good one-liners, but that's also just the writers. And I only liked Monica when she was dating and then marries Chandler, because Chandler is my favorite. Chandler and Phoebe.
I remember I saw something on Twitter. It was like they had to make Monica and Ross siblings, because if they didn't, the Friends would have taken Carol's side in the divorce.
Oh my God. But like, actually,
yeah, Ross is the worst. So
Ross is just such a little baby. Like, the whole show, he's such a baby.
I will die on this hill, but Ross is the worst television character that's ever been created.
You think?
I will die on that hill.
I'm sure there's worse ones.
There's not. That man got fired for like screaming about a sandwich, like straight up.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, he really, like I said, he just plays the victim like the entire show. It's so annoying. And when I was younger though, Joey was my favorite character, because it's like that classic like slapstick humor, like I'm the goofy friend. But as I got older, I just really appreciate Chandler's jokes. It does start to become a lot sometimes. And then Phoebe again is like more of that ditzy like la la la. And I like Rachel too, obviously, but she's just like the basic character.
I think Joey's my favorite character, but yeah. I probably relate to Chandler a little bit more.
Yeah, Chandler, especially as like an adult, I feel like Chandler is the most relatable. Just thinking when like he's trying to figure out like what to do with his life at how old, I'm like, yep, I feel that.
Probably the same age we are now. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
I always think about, because like we get older, obviously, as humans, I always think about the episode where Rachel turns 30 and they talk about how all of them turn 30. I'm like, that's going to be me. Like, I'll be crying.
Same. And Joey's like, why, God, why? And then when they're like talking about turning 30, like he's gonna turn 31, and he's like, no, God and I made a promise, right? Like that's not gonna happen.
Right.
I feel that in that show, there's so many, like a good amount of episodes that are like my favorite episode. Like I remember them. I remember a lot of the episodes, obviously, but like, I don't know. I could just watch that show over and over again. And I do.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, I could finish it and then just restart it the same day.
Yeah.
Like, no problem.
Yeah. It's also like 9 seasons, I think.
Yeah.
So by the time you're done with the 9th season, like you forgot the first season.
It's true. You just go right back to the start.
But yeah, I think this is a pretty easy matchup.
If you like Everybody Loves Raymond, please reevaluate your life.
I was gonna say, you're listening to the wrong podcast.
Just called out our parents right then and there. Sorry, guys.
Well, this bracket makes me laugh because some of the sitcoms my parents watch now, which like I feel like I don't even watch sitcoms as much anymore unless it's one of the ones on this bracket. I'm like, this show is terrible. And they're like, no, this show is great. It's so funny. I'm like, why are you watching this? Like, Mom, my parents for a while went through, like, my parents definitely go through like sitcom / show phases. They went through a while of watching Mike and Molly. Not funny. And now they're on Young Sheldon. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You guys have a lot better taste than this. Like, because they have good taste in like movies and things like that. But the sitcom department really is slacking.
I think they just like came up in an era where sitcoms were so prevalent. Like they went to work and they talked about the sitcom. And so they just try every sitcom to see if there's that next Friends or Seinfeld. There's not. There is one that's new that's really good. It's called American Auto. Like it literally just started this year. I don't know if you've seen ads for it. It's like all over Hulu, but it's really good.
Oh, I think I vaguely remember this. I don't know. I don't know if I can devote myself to a sitcom.
It's 30 minutes once a week. So
I know,
relax.
honestly, I'm so bad with shows because I get bored so easily. So I watch like 2 seasons and then stop. So sitcoms are like right up in my department. But yeah, that's shocking that there's actually potentially a good sitcom out. But it's also the first season. So
that's true. My mom said she tried and didn't like it, but I was like, okay, well, I mean,
so
you watch Mom and Everybody Loves Raymond, so it must be good.
Yeah, exactly.
The next matchup was an interesting one. It was MASH versus 30 Rock, which I remember watching both my parents, but I moved MASH on. I just simply remember it more, and I'm pretty sure I watched it like every day for like years too. So
I also moved MASH on. This is one of my dad's favorite shows of all time, which I agree with because it is a great show. But like you said, I just remember watching it every single day. And sometimes even, I don't know if it was like TV Land, I have no idea, but it would be on for like hours and we would just have, that's what we would have on the TV. So yeah, and I tried to watch 30 Rock on Netflix and I got through the first few episodes, but again, I stopped watching. So I don't know if that's a good sign.
Probably not. I remember my mom liked 30 Rock, my dad liked MASH, so I guess I'm picking my dad here. Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
But yeah, we watched literally hours of it all the time.
Yep. Same.
I saw most episodes.
Yeah, I think so too. It's never been one of those shows I've watched from like start to end. I don't even know where you could watch the show now. Like you said, I think we watched pretty much every single episode because every time the show was on, I felt like it was a different episode.
We definitely had the same childhood. So that's what I'm learning.
So like Midwest and / Northeast / Southeast, all the same.
Just every inch of this country from Ohio over is the same.
Everyone has had the same childhood. No, I'm kidding. And I also think MASH, like for its time, was like an elite sitcom. Like I'm pretty sure it won like a bunch of awards, and
Gold.
Also for a while, think it was like the longest running sitcom.
Oh, for real? Fun fact.
I'm almost positive. It just was crazy because they're in the middle of war, but it's also a like sitcom. Like what? And they just did it so well with the balance of being like serious because it's obviously a serious topic, but lighthearted and having its moments of funniness too.
Right. There's never been anything like it. So the next matchup was King of Queens versus Big Bang Theory. I know we both have pretty much the same opinion on Big Bang Theory and now Young Sheldon. I moved on King of Queens.
No doubt in my mind. The Big Bang Theory, I don't know how that show, again, it was another show that won a bunch of awards. I keep wanting to say rewards for some reason, like it's fucking like Publix, I don't know, but it won a bunch of awards and I don't see it. I don't get it. I think this show is so stupid. It's just not funny.
There's honestly too many men on the show. Like the men to women ratio is so bad.
Yeah, that's true too. And I think they realize that because that's when they bring on like Amy, Sheldon's, I think, turns into wife. I don't even know because I stopped watching so quickly. And then that one guy, the blonde haired girl too.
Kaylee Kuko literally carried this show for like 5 seasons.
100%. I never got it. I don't get it. Anytime the show is on, I'm like, please change this channel immediately.
It ran for like 10 years too.
It came out probably when we were like seniors in high school, like 18, or maybe actually, I think it came out in high school.
Yeah, my parents watched this literally every day.
Yeah. And I remember starting out, like I watched it every now and then just because it was on the TV. But like the older I got, the worse the show got.
Right. Like the more brain cells you got, like the worse the show got.
The more educated I got, the worse the show got, which is funny because like these are supposed to be like the most educated people and like rocket scientists and all that stuff. And I just, no, I didn't think it was funny.
I can't even think of who the worst character on the show is because I can't stand a bunch of them.
Like we said, the best character was Kaylee Cuoco's character. The rest, no.
Yeah, I think Leonard was the worst character.
Like Sheldon definitely had his moments, but again, it's just a show that was like the same storyline. And I know people have their feelings about Friends too, but like I think that's why we enjoy Friends so much because every episode is different. Like, yeah, I'm sure there's some foundational elements that are the same, but it's a different storyline. Whereas I feel like in Big Bang Theory, it was still like the same premise every single episode.
Well, Friends is relatable. Like for rocket scientists being able to find girlfriends, not relatable. Like, I'm sorry, it's not.
No. And I never understood like the one character, I'm forgetting his name, but like anytime, I'm sure he got over the fear, but anytime like a girl was in the room, he didn't talk. I'm like, oh, that's so original. Like the nerd can't talk to women. Like what? Like that's so stupid.
It's also just weird as an adult to like not be able to open your mouth around another human being, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So easily King of Queens moved on, which as an adult, this isn't like one of my favorite sitcoms. I think it's actually really annoying too, because like the husband and wife literally hate each other. And then that's pretty much it. That's the whole show. But again, from a nostalgia standpoint, got to go with King of Queens because, like we said, it's one of those shows that I watched like every day with my parents, and then there would be marathons that we would watch too. And also, fun fact, obviously they were in Queens, which is where my mom grew up. And at the end, when they go to the lemon ice and like Doug drops it immediately, turn around, that's lemon ice King of Corona, which was like a staple in my mom's childhood. And we've gone there pretty much almost every time we visit New York in the spring/summer. And it is the best lemon ice ever in the entire universe. So that was always like a cool little moment in the intro.
That's good to know since lemons are the best fruit. Like I need to know those things.
They have so many flavors.
Well, no, I don't need the other
flavors. Well, yeah, you would just get the original lemon ice. But yeah, they have a ton of flavors. My favorite is either melon or watermelon. But
melon.
I knew you were going to say that. It's so good.
Melon's barely a flavor. Cantaloupe is a disgusting fruit, dude. That's so bad. I can't believe you said that on the air here.
Wait, which one is orange and which one is green?
Cantaloupe's orange.
Okay, yeah. I think I like the cantaloupe one better, but the melon's probably good too. Honestly, lemon ice and Corona doesn't miss. I feel like they could make a grass flavored and it would still be good.
I bet that would miss.
No.
Grass flavored lemon ice. Okay. I'm also like not a huge King and Queen fan. It's kind of like Everybody Loves Raymond, not that bad, but like the old dude is like the star of the show.
Yeah, the old white man is just complaining and bitching about his wife the whole time, and then the wife is awful. And Kevin James, no.
Yeah, no.
Every single thing he's been in since King of Queens, terrible.
Dude's got like 3 mall cop movies, which is amazing. He made it past the first one.
I know.
Our last matchup in this bracket is Home Improvement versus Seinfeld, which I feel like you felt was hard. I didn't. I took Seinfeld, no problem.
I did find this hard. Again, a lot of these shows I'm like reflecting on as an adult, and I'm just like, ugh. Like it gives me the ick. Like I'm just like, I don't like this.
The ick.
And I haven't watched a lot of these shows besides like Friends and stuff like that, especially in the parent bracket in a long time. And this was also another one of my dad's favorites. Like we would watch the show regularly. And also like Tim Allen is the lead, who I love Tim Allen because he was Santa Claus. And I love those movies. So I love the show. And also there's like 3 boys on the show. And I'm pretty sure like one of my first crushes as a kid was the oldest son with the blonde hair. I don't even know what his name was, but I was like, oh, he's so cute.
The oldest one, not the middle one?
The middle
one
when he
gross.
No, he wasn't. As a kid, like as a teenager, he was cute. And then the middle one, obviously, as he got older, he became the hotter one. So then I was like, oh, I'm sorry, older child. I like the middle one now. I did find it weird. Like, I never understood why the next door neighbor, like, you only ever saw his eyes because they just talked over the fence. I was like, is he okay? Like, what is this? So that one, it was hard. And Seinfeld, I think, was one of my parents' shows. I don't think it is anymore, but this was like a show that we would watch all the time too. My parents can probably quote every single episode. So that's why I ended up going with Seinfeld, just because I think it was more prevalent throughout my childhood. It's a good show, obviously, but I don't know.
We're probably going to fight next round. I feel like I don't know.
Recently watched Seinfeld. So
this is recency bias for sure, but I'm full of biases. So Home Improvement, the reason the guy, you only see his eyes is because he didn't want people to recognize him like out in the world. So that's why.
Oh, interesting. Fun fact.
Seinfeld is, like you said, this is my parents', I think, favorite show of all time. So I remember it. And it's recent because I'm going through it from start to finish right now. It just hits different, Miranda. I don't really know how to describe it. I read that it's when they were creating it, like the whole premise around it was like no lessons, no hugs, no growth. Like these characters don't get better. They don't get less selfish. They don't find the loves of their lives. They're kind of like jerks just running through life. And I can appreciate
like they are jerks. All 4 of them.
I can appreciate that and relate to it a little bit. Not that I'm a total jerk. It's nice to see something different because every other show is like, oh my gosh, they become this amazing person. They find the love of their life and like, yeah, happy endings.
Who's your favorite character on Seinfeld?
I think it's Jerry.
Okay. As long as you don't say George, because I literally can't stand that man.
Whose favorite character is George? Probably my mom's, actually. I would bet.
My favorite character is Kramer. Because he's just like, he's an alien. Like he's honestly an alien. Like, how is this a real person? But yeah, I can't stand George. And yeah, Jerry's not bad either. Elaine, okay, I guess. But I don't know. I think I just haven't seen this show in so long and it just gives me like the ick a little bit. But like we said, it's the nostalgia component. And I guess it is different that like they never have any character development.
I love it. Like they just throw people aside, like no problem. They screw over their lives. They're just running wild. Like it's like a toned down version of GTA almost.
Pretty much. And I also think like you have to appreciate like Jerry Seinfeld is an actual comedian and he helped with the show And I feel like it obviously made his career. So it has to be funny.
We moved on the exact same ones. So let's see how far we can go here. First matchup, Friends versus MASH. This was, again, not difficult.
No.
Shout out to MASH. Like, mad respect to MASH, but I had to take Friends.
Same, because like we talked about before, this is like one of my comfort shows. I watch it so much. I couldn't not bring it over. And yeah, shout out to MASH because that is a really great show, but had to go with the obvious choice.
Sometimes in this profession, you have to make hard decisions.
Yeah.
Second matchup, King of Queens versus Seinfeld. I don't know if we're going to agree, but it looks like you have the ick for both these shows, but I took Seinfeld.
No, I went the same. I also went with Seinfeld because, again, I can appreciate like more of the episodes and that writing and all that stuff. King of Queens, I think the humor is based off a terrible relationship. Reflecting now as an adult, I'm like, this show isn't funny. It's actually really harmful. Like they should have broken up a while ago.
Yeah, I always feel that with like you're watching shows or movies and you're like, why don't you just simply not be together? It's like the solution to most problems.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. There's just even, again, every couple fights, like obviously it happens and like marriage is hard, but these people hate each other. Like they literally hate each other and they're both terrible people. Like Doug and Carrie are just, again, jerks. So, and Seinfeld is a whole show full of jerks too, but at least like it's a little funnier, not as harming.
We're just on the same wavelength here until now, probably. Friends versus Seinfeld. I took Seinfeld.
Kelsey, no.
I know. And I knew as I was typing, I was like, Miranda is going to kill me for doing this, but I did it.
I'm shocked.
I know. This was tough.
I went with Friends again, because obviously.
Yeah, I felt like that was the road we were going down.
Yeah.
For you. I thought I was gonna do it, but I don't know. Just something in my heart.
I'm like flabbergasted. I don't even have anything to say.
Miranda is speechless for the first time ever.
I'm shook. I really am. I'm like trying to collect my thoughts right now. Yeah, I went with Friends because, again, I watched that show so many times.
Yeah, I feel like I'm betraying it a little bit, like for the new hot thing that I'm watching, even though they're both from this freaking 30 years ago. But
you really are betraying Friends. So you're not allowed to watch another episode ever again. You're out of the cult's following.
I have left this
really
cult
are
following.
Hipster now.
I am hipster Kelsey, changing all my socials. We'll talk about this Final Four matchup in the next episode, but you've got Bob's Burgers versus Friends, and then I'll have Archer versus Seinfeld for next week. So different. Well, sorry to have disappointed you and Friends.
Yeah, this episode's ending on a low note right now. We lost a member of the Friends fan club.
Hopefully Jennifer Aniston doesn't find out. I was gonna say you're
upsetting like two of your girls, Ashley Tisdale and Jennifer Aniston. No, they're done.
Threw him on the street for Jerry Seinfeld.
Yikes. No, thank you. I'll stick with Jennifer Aniston and Ashley Tisdale.
Can't be mad. They can't be mad at both of us.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Next week, we're going to wrap up the sitcom bracket and tell you what our best sitcoms of all time are. Don't forget to follow along and fill out your own bracket with us.
Check out our link tree, which you can find in the description of the episode. This is our one-stop shop for you to find all of our social media accounts at Fans of the Home Team, and also sign up to share your fandom story with us, and a great way to find our bracket and share your thoughts and opinions on the bracket as well.
And so you don't miss any of our upcoming podcasts, subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening on. And if you feel generous, go ahead, share with a friend, leave us a review. Every little bit helps since we're just starting out.
Thank you again, and we'll see you next Wednesday.